Okay, good morning and welcome to the first ever virtual exploration event with Mill Steel Company. I just want to thank you too for this amazing opportunity to just present to our students the amazing work that you do and get them interested about the careers that you have within your industry. And so now, Troy, I'm going to give you co-host access. Okay. Do you have it, Troy? Okay, perfect.
Okay, I think I'm far enough away from Troy now that the feedback won't be an issue anymore. Welcome everybody to this presentation about Mill Steel. Hopefully we'll get everybody energized to be in the steel business someday. What we at Mill Steel here do is we purchase steel from steel mills in great big huge coils. Think of a big roll of paper towel or something like that, and then we slit it down into more manageable products for our customers. On a monthly basis, we ship about 75,000 tons a month, so we move a lot of steel, mostly for automotive, but we do also serve markets of office furniture, appliance, construction, and many, many, many more. So we're going to start with a video presentation. And when that's complete in about 25 minutes, we'll open things up to questions and answers. So let her roll, right?
We can't hear.
I can't hear, huh?
My name's Troy Mossel, Corporate Development Manager here with the Mill Steel Company. Welcome to our team. You're about to watch a short video on Mill Steel. You're going to learn about the history of our company, what we do, where we're located, our business groups, the markets we serve, and what makes Mill Steel a leader in our industry. Whichever facility you're viewing this from, regardless of the role you're playing within our organization, you will find quickly that you are an important piece of the success here at Mill Steel. Each one of us is working daily for the continual pursuit of a quality product on time, every time.
The Mill Steel Company is one of the largest service centers in North America. As a service center, our primary responsibility is servicing our customers from our distribution centers located across the Mid and Southwest. Our process is simple. We buy various coils of steel at predetermined thickness and strength levels based on our customers' forecasted needs. These steel coils then come to us in sizes upwards of 50,000 pounds and 72 inches wide. We then take this material and use a process called slitting to create multiple coil widths to meet our customers' exact specifications and inventory demands. In addition to slitting, we offer cut to length, edging, leveling, inspection, and material testing services. Mill Steel serves many customers and markets such as automotive, construction, appliance, office furniture, agricultural, and home goods, just to name a few. Mill Steel was founded in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1959 by Harry and Edith Samrick. Mill Steel began out of Mr. Samrick's house where Harry would broker deals in the steel market. Soon thereafter, Harry purchased a building where our headquarters are today and installed the first Mill Steel slitting line. In 1972, David Samrick, Harry and Edith's son, took the reins as president of Mill Steel and continues to this day as CEO, owner of Mill Steel, and remains active in the day-to-day operations. As owner, David has put in place a group of shareholders that make up the Mill Steel ownership and are known as our partner group. Pam Heglin, our Mill Steel president, keeps pace with our company's growth and strategic development. Joe Poop, senior vice president of purchasing, works directly with our vendors on sourcing material for our customer base. Carl Kenville, Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer, is actively involved with our selling teams and customers on future opportunities and current market conditions. Rob Vella, our Vice President of Operations, oversees each of our distribution facilities, working closely with each team on safety and delivering a quality product to our customers. Mark Rabatoy, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, is constantly working with our financial institutions, ensuring Mill Steel is operating responsibly. As a privately held, family-owned company, Mill Steel encompasses a flat organizational model. From our partner group, we have our directors, managers, and associates. This is a benefit to Mill Steel's approach of fewer layers versus the many layers you will see in a tall organization model. Mill Steel remains headquartered in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Along with our service center, our Grand Rapids location houses all of the support teams such as inside sales, logistics, purchasing, outside processing, finance, and technical services. Our other service centers are located in Melvindale, Michigan, just south of Detroit, Anderson, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis, Jeffersonville, Indiana, the north side of the Ohio River across from Louisville, Birmingham, Alabama, and Houston, Texas. Our facilities equate to nearly 900,000 square feet of production and storage space. This provides Mill Steel a competitive advantage in reaching multiple markets and customers. This, along with sales exceeding $700 million and nearly 400 teammates, makes Mill Steel a leader in our industry and one of the largest service centers in North America. As the Mill Steel business model serves a variety of market types, the need to best serve those segments is addressed with experts in these areas. Hence, Mill Steel began to support additional businesses underneath the Mill Steel umbrella. Our Mill Steel Building Products Group offers a full range of pre-painted, acrylic, and purlin products for the metal roofing and construction markets. Our Mill Steel Steel Plus Solutions team focuses their expertise on the non-automotive sector, such as agricultural and HVAC. Our Steel Structural Products Group manufactures steel framing product for the commercial and residential construction markets. The Mill Steel Steel Structural Products Group houses two manufacturing facilities adjacent to the Jeffersonville and Birmingham facilities. Nothing is more important to Mill Steel than the safety of our colleagues. Posted in each plant is the Mill Steel Safety Commitment. This reminds our teams daily of how important safety is. Also posted throughout each facility is the Mill Steel Quality Policy. Our success in this is seen through our continued growth as well as attaining the highest levels of accreditation in our industry. Growing to be the best is our motto at Mill Steel. Our vision and mission statements have shown that through motivation, empowerment, expansion, and relationships, Mill Steel continues growing to be the best. The Mill Steel culture is exemplified by our norms and values: people, customer satisfaction, accountability, quality work environment, community, profit, employee empowerment, quality and continuous improvement, facilities, integrity. Through these 10 bullet points, Mill Steel generates a culture that promotes an atmosphere of fun, family, teamwork, and positivity. This culture of Mill Steel has always been important and embraced by our partner group. I hope you have enjoyed this glimpse into the Mill Steel Company. Welcome to our team and family. All of us here at Mill Steel strive to embody a culture of team, community, and values. With your help, we look forward to continuing this path and growing to be the best.
On a journey from the dark reaches of the universe, a meteorite hurtles through space. Nearing the Earth, gravity pulls it through the atmosphere. The mass explodes under the strain, raining bits of rock and iron on the ground. Following the streaking flight, the heavenly metal is recovered. The strange material is fashioned into a primitive tool. Fantasy? Perhaps. Or does it explain, as many think, why in ancient languages the word steel means star metal? We do know that man has used heavenly and earthly iron for thousands of years. In a time and place unrecorded came the discovery that iron could be made better, stronger, and even more useful. A pinch of nickel, a dash of manganese, dislodge a bit of carbon. The alloy steel was discovered. The age of alchemy gave birth to the science of metallurgy. In 1856, a process for making steel on a grand scale was discovered, and a tremendous industrial revolution was born. 150 years later, the evolution of new and better steels continues to unfold at AK Steel. It all begins, as it has for centuries, by assembling the essential ingredients. In northern Minnesota, miners coax ore from the rocky veins of the Mesabi Range. Straight from the ground, this taconite is unsuited for AK Steel's productive blast furnaces. Pulverized and concentrated, the iron ore is fused back together as marble-sized pellets. Steel rails will guide the ore to its final destination at the base of AK Steel's blast furnaces. 600 miles away, under the hills of West Virginia, miners dispatch tons of coal to the surface. It travels by rail to AK Steel's plants, where it will become the primary fuel in the 4,000-degree inferno needed to reduce the ore to molten iron. Before the coal can begin the demanding task of smelting iron, it must be transformed into a more efficient form called coke. The process begins by loading a blend of coals into a series of tall, narrow ovens. The ovens are sealed from the air to prevent the coal from burning away in the 2400-degree temperature. After baking for nearly a day, a 12-ton volcano of coke is pushed from the oven into an awaiting rail car. Reunited with oxygen, the coke ignites in a scorching dance. Like charcoal, the coke is now light, porous, and strong. A 9,000-gallon cold shower tempers the heated passion of the coke, sending a billowy plume of steam skyward. Completing the raw material list is limestone. Mined from quarries throughout the Midwest, this natural cleansing agent will collect the impurities released from the coke and ore. West Virginia coal, limestone from Kentucky, taconite from Minnesota, and a pinch of high-grade iron from South America. These earthly ingredients will ascend 20 stories to meet in the iron maker's colossal vat. Skip cars haul their carefully measured burden up the steep incline, delivering a steady supply of fuel and ore to the furnace. A pair of valves, called bells, allow the raw materials to enter the furnace without releasing the pressure of hot air and gases in the furnace. To our metallurgists, this giant structure is known as a countercurrent packed bed thermochemical pressure vessel, but simply the blast furnace is named for its most indispensable ingredient, a blast of air and gas hot enough to ignite the coke. Stoves heat the air to nearly 2,000 degrees. Turbo engines propel the hot air at nearly 200 miles per hour into the furnace through openings called twirls. The porous coke allows the hot wind to penetrate the raw materials and heat the ore. Oxygen reacts chemically with the coke, creating a reducing atmosphere. This thermochemical process creates temperatures of more than 4,000 degrees. Under this intense inferno, the ore releases molten iron, which drips to the bottom of the furnace. Gases from the reaction are cleaned and recycled as fuel for the coke ovens and blast furnace stoves. The limestone traps impurities released from the burning coke and ore, becoming a slag which floats atop the heavier molten iron. The iron and slag flow almost continuously from two tap holes near the bottom of the furnace. A drill pierces the clay plug of the tap hole and bores into the heart of the furnace. A 2,700 degree river of molten iron is born from the belly of the furnace in a spectacular display of man's command of nature. Unleashed, the fiery tide follows its directed course beneath the watchful eyes of its creators. With respect for its fury, the quality of the metal is monitored and recorded. The limestone, having performed its cleansing job, rides out of the furnace atop the river of iron. Diverted to a cooling pit, it will be recycled, perhaps as the bed of a new highway or railroad. Born of brittle, brute strength, the iron is destined for refining school, where it will learn to be rolled, drawn, and stretched as steel. Bearing more than 200 tons each, torpedo cars haul the molten iron to the basic oxygen furnace, where it will complete its transformation into steel. Poured into a ladle, the iron is treated and skimmed to remove slag containing sulfur, an impurity left over from the coke in the blast furnace. While the iron is being skimmed, scrap steel, recycled from elsewhere in the mill, is loaded into the furnace. Cleansed of sulfur, the molten iron is poured into the mouth of the furnace. In a pulpit 200 feet from the fiery metal, the furnace is rocked, stirred, and monitored with computer-assisted precision. High-purity oxygen is blown into the furnace at supersonic speed through a water-cooled lance. Like a giant cutting torch, the oxygen lance raises the temperature of the iron to nearly 3,000 degrees, burning off yet more impurities in the iron and melting the scrap. In some 20 minutes, the rage of the furnace subsides, having tamed the iron's brittle strength. Rid of excess carbon, phosphorus, and silicon, the metal has newfound power. Steel is born. Having harnessed the energy of the sun itself, AK Steel's metallurgical chefs keep sentry over their bubbling recipe. A sample from the molten bath is retrieved. In the shop's metallurgical lab, quality control technicians analyze and record the composition of the metal. Before it solidifies, final adjustments are made to the chemistry. A vacuum degasser removes additional carbon. This allows the steel to be drawn and shaped into such products as automotive parts. Special alloys, titanium, aluminum, and manganese, among others, add special qualities for hundreds of different uses. A lid insulates the molten brew during casting. Capable of lifting the weight of nearly 200 cars, the crane operator's delicate touch hoists the ladle 4 stories high. Atop the caster, a gate is opened at the bottom of the ladle. Liquid steel flows through a shroud into a trough called a tundish at a rate of 5 tons per minute. Nozzles in the bottom of the tundish direct the steel into water-cooled molds. As the steel flows into the molds, it begins to solidify. Still soft, the steel is gently directed by the curved radius of the caster to a horizontal position at the run-out table. From molten steel, slabs emerge, glowing from an internal temperature of nearly 2,000 degrees. Automatic torches embrace the slabs, burning through the steel, which is now 9 inches thick. A tag is attached to record the slab's identity as the steel is processed into the customer's order. Still about 1,200 degrees, the slabs are cool enough to load on rail cars for their journey to the hot strip mill. More than 30 feet long, each slab weighs nearly 90,000 pounds. With enough energy to heat a city, the slabs are bathed in a glowing furnace for 3 hours. Shielded from the 2,400-degree heat of the slab, an operator sends the monolith toward its destination more than half a mile away. The slab's glow and unmistakable footsteps down the roll line are familiar signs at the hot strip. In 6 minutes, this 40-ton behemoth will make the most awesome transformation in steelmaking, as more than 130,000 horsepower press it as thin as a computer disk. The bar is squeezed between the huge roughing mill rolls like so much clay. Blasts of water break away the thin crust of scale that formed on the slab during heating, sending up a rooster tail of spray. The hot steel yields to the relentless hydraulic pressure in the only manner it can. Halfway to its destination, its 9-inch girth has been trimmed to a mere 1.5 inches. The rest of its mass now trails along more than 100 feet behind its front edge. Linked by a host of computers and radios, operators at the hot strip monitor every facet of the process. Some of the most advanced technology in the world controls the 7 finishing stands of the hot strip mill. Only several feet apart, these massive rolls give the strip its final thickness and shape. As the steel passes through each stand, its thickness is reduced further. By the time the front edge of the strip clears the final stand, it may be traveling more than 25 miles per hour. A half mile from its blistering hot start, a cold spray cools the steel as it speeds toward the coilers. These marvels of timing catch the speeding strip and wind it into a coil. From glowing slab to glistening strip. What was minutes ago a mere 30 feet long, this coil would now span a dozen football fields. But the journey for this AK steel is far from over. This hot-rolled coil now has the fundamental strengths of steel. To meet the sophisticated requirements of many AK steel customers, these green coils, as they are called, will be further processed at the cold strip mill. At the pickling complex, a mild bath of hydrochloric acid removes the oxide that formed during the steel's journey through the hot strip mill. Following a rinse and a dry, the steel is again wound into a coil and coated with an oil to prevent rust and prepare it for rolling on the cold mill. In its basic operation, the cold mill functions much like the hot strip mill, squeezing the steel with tremendous hydraulic force to reduce its thickness. But as the name implies, no heat is applied in the cold mill. This creates a smooth finish and increases the strength of the steel. Although the steel isn't heated, friction from 2,400 tons of pressure readily vaporizes the mill's coolant as the strip speeds from stand to stand at 60 miles per hour. The mill rolls, costing up to $70,000 each, are changed every few hours to ensure consistent quality. AK Steel's trained operators have made this the most productive cold mill in the world, producing some of the highest quality steel available. Coils are inspected for the slightest blemish and thoroughly tested for all quality characteristics. For some customers, cold-rolled steel meets their requirements exactly. Its thickness has been reduced from that of a computer disk to a credit card. The surface is smooth, and the steel has gained strength in the cold rolling process. For the most demanding uses, however, additional processing will give the steel its final characteristics. At the zinc grip line, cold-rolled steel is immersed in a bath of molten zinc. This hot-dip galvanizing process wraps the steel in a pure zinc rust-resistant coating. Automakers and other customers depend on AK Steel's industry leadership in steel technology for superior coated steels. These advanced materials help automakers build cars with extended warranties against rust and corrosion. Aluminum-coated, cold-rolled steels enable the makers of automotive exhaust systems to build mufflers, tailpipes, and resonators which last the lifetime of the car, if not longer. Aluminized steel is ideal for making furnaces and other heat-resistant products. Culverts and other drainage products fabricated from this aluminum-coated steel offer decades of service. Built to meet the needs for better automotive steels, the electro-galvanizing line plates cold-rolled steel electrolytically. Using the steel itself as a conductor, coatings of pure zinc and a zinc-nickel combination adhere to the strip in a giant 2 million amp electrical circuit. Electro-galvanized steels are preferred for their uniform finish, providing strong, smooth fenders, hoods, and other automotive body parts.
So, Mr. Ridley, what'd you think? You're muted still. You're muted.
I thought it was fascinating.
Great. Before you ask a few questions, let me ask you and your students a few questions. Mill steel, I said, does 75,000 tons a month, so about 800,000 tons of steel annually we process and ship out for automotive production and other. As an industry in the United States, how much steel do you think the United States produces annually?
Let me ask them if they know what it might be. Hold on just a second. I'm not getting any guesses from them, but yeah, how much in America? I would imagine it's a huge astronomical number.
Well, why don't you give it a try? If mill steel's handling 800,000 tons annually, what's the U.S. doing?
800,000 to, hmm. Yeah, I'd have to say easily, it'd have to be in the billions.
No, it's about 100 million metric tons. The United
Okay.
States produces annually, roughly 100 million metric tons. Mill steel happens to be in the top 10 service centers within the United States, but
Okay.
about 100 million metric tons, and that number's been stable for a number of years now. Now that I've said that, how many tons do you believe China produces annually?
Ooh. If we do 100 million metric tons, China's got a huge population. Yeah, it'd have to be probably maybe 800 million tons.
You nailed it. You must have Googled it or something.
No, I'm just thinking in terms of population. So,
Well, very impressive. They do about 850 million metric tons.
wow. Okay.
The world total does about 1.6 billion.
Okay.
So China represents roughly half the world. The United States and Europe and Japan match up pretty closely at roughly 100 million metric tons annually, and then the rest of the world combined. You saw those master coils. Ask the kids how much do they think one of those master coils weighs.
So what do you guys think on the, I had an answer of 40 tons.
40 tons is high. Try to think in terms of pounds.
50,000 pounds?
Yeah, that's pretty close. A
Okay.
typical master coil is about 45,000 pounds. And why do you think it's about 45,000 pounds? There's some reasoning behind this.
Would that be just in terms of thickness, coating, stuff like that, so it varies?
No, particularly the mills are set up, a truckload is about 45,000 to 50,000 pounds.
Oh, okay. All right.
So a master coil comes off in a truckload quantity. Now here in Michigan, the reason our roads are not as nice as they might be is we're able to run 100,000 pound trucks, so they could put 2 master coils on those trucks.
Oh, okay.
Most of the rest of the United States is 45, 50,000 pounds. So one of the things that people ask us frequently is, do we make steel? No, Mill Steel does not make steel. We buy steel, and we buy steel from every steel mill in North America, and most of them around the globe as well. Certainly, the lion's share of the steel we process comes from North America, maybe 75, 80%, but 20% does come from offshore. We have a very big roofing business. Most of that's call it a more exotic grade of steel, very thin gauge 016 galvalume that gets painted. So most of that comes from offshore, much of it from Vietnam, ironically.
Huh.
So what kind of questions might you folks have for us?
Well, I'm going to ask a couple of basic ones in the beginning here. So is Mill Steel looking for full-time or part-time workers? Is there a minimum age requirement for hires?
Mill Steel's always looking. We have plants scattered throughout the United States. Of course, I'm sitting at one of our plants here on 36th Street in Grand Rapids. We have another plant in Melvindale, which is suburban Detroit. We also have a plant in Birmingham, Alabama, another one in Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is really Louisville, Kentucky. It's just across the river. And
right.
Our newest facilities in Houston, Texas. All of those we're constantly looking for people. We want them to have a very good aptitude, and we'll train them. So if you come out of high school and have done pretty well, we're willing to train you. Troy, you'll have to nod your head. I think you may be muted, but I believe 18 is the minimum age for us.
Okay.
And much of we also do for those of your students that may be college bound, we do a lot of work with Grand Valley in terms of call it white collar or office jobs that we have. The entry to mill steel typically is through an internship program. Most of it's through Grand Valley, although we've dealt with interns from all the other local colleges, Aquinas and Calvin and others.
Okay. All right, guys, anybody have, any of you have questions that you'd like to ask? Walk back here and I'll let you ask them. I know there's got to be somebody that's got at least one.
And as students are walking, approaching, the computer, what type of skill should students possess if they are interested in this particular field? What are some of the things that you're looking for if a student is interested in this particular career industry?
I'm going to defer to Troy. Troy, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. Thank you, Jim. And thank you for the question, Michelle. Certainly, like in any business, we have our office environment where we have purchasing activities and we have logistic activities and customer service activities and finance activities. Mill Steel is always looking for, those persons that are engaging, that are good communicators, that are certainly reliable. Mill Steel has a culture of where our teams are empowered, right down from any of our production facilities, as Mr. Murray mentioned, throughout the Mid and Southwest, where the teams are well trained, and we rely on them to make the responsible decisions to be at work on time and deliver a quality product to our customers.
Perfect. All right. Got a couple of questions here.
I like this guy already, a Tiger fan.
My name's Colin. My question is, what are the differences between your plants? Like you said, you have some in Detroit, one in Grand Rapids. Are there any differences?
There's not a lot of significant difference in the plants. Most of it's based on geography. As we talked about, steel's pretty heavy. So as a result, we can effectively move steel about 300 miles. Between here and our Jeffersonville plant, that's about 350, 400 miles. So we can effectively service the area in between. Same thing between Jeffersonville and Birmingham. So it's really more about logistics, although some of our facilities, I think of Houston in particular, that's a little more set up for our roofing business. So we inventory different materials depending on what region of the United States demands. Here in the north, much of it's automotive production. In the south and the southwest, much of it's more construction oriented. So that depends on where we'll bring our inventory in as well. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, you said Houston was the newest plant?
Yes.
Thank you.
And part of the reason that Houston's attractive to us, I'll just expand on that. Houston's attractive to us because it's a port, and I think I mentioned earlier we bring some material from offshore, and some of that offshore material happens to be in the roofing grade material, and there's also steel painting companies right there locationally as well, so it just makes good sense for them.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Kazaya, and I was wondering how long training usually lasts. Is it hour-based or skill-based?
Well, you've got the right person on, which is Troy, because he heads up all of our training. So Troy, take that one.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. That's a great question. You know, depending on the role, depends on what the training program that we have outlined. So each one of our roles, whether it could be a facility role, on machinery, dealing with our carriers, or it could be in the office when we're talking with customers and we're part of a customer service team. That's kind of going to depend on the length of the role and how those different areas are learned. One week you'll be working with customers, the next week, if you're in the plant, you'll be working with, you know, learning equipment and certainly all the safety aspects that go along. So that's kind of the long answer. The short answer is anywhere from 90 to 100 to 120 days is how long a training program typically would last for an entry-level person.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent questions. So it looks like we just have maybe 2 minutes. I think we've gone over time, but I just want to say, is there any more questions? Because this information is truly, truly informative. I didn't know a lot about how our steel was made, so I was definitely intrigued. I remember participating in a steel mill, I guess, field trip. It was that a few years back, and I was just wowed as to the look of the factory. It was really clean. It was inviting. The only thing, it was a little hot, but other than that, it was really fantastic, and I learned so much. So students, I just want to thank you for this opportunity that we allowed the awesome Mill Steel Company to come in and just kind of talk about their industry, a couple of positions. And if this is something that you are interested in, please, please, please just email me. Mr. Ridley does have my email address, and I'll make sure that we reach out to Troy and Jim to make sure if there's any other follow-up questions, if there's a possible internship that you guys can explore, we can ask them that later, job shadow opportunities, and possible employment. So make sure that you reach out to me. And Mr. Troy, Mr. Jim, how comfortable are you if students had your email?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right, so I'll make sure if you want to reach out, just Mr. Ridley knows how to get in contact with me. And thank you so much, Mr. Ridley, for your time. I'll make sure we'll download this video, get it uploaded in YouTube, and we'll make sure your class has access to it.
Perfect.
So thank you so much.